is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is, why is the narcissistic relationship so hard to shake? Why is it so difficult to get over? I think that's a great viewer question, because if we dive into that and dive deep, I think you'll learn a lot more about how to control your emotions, your reactions, take ownership over yourself versus trying to always look at how hard you compare against this other person. There's a habitual comparing yourself with others that is promulgated or pushed forth or increased when you're in a relationship with a narcissist. They tend to embrace sort of that comparison, that competition. They seem to always want to be up against another or appearing as if. So there always has to be a counterforce to their force. So there becomes a real sort of state of tension that is experienced in the relationship. And oftentimes this tension, though be it negative, is oftentimes looked at as being alive or, being on the up and up. Relationship with a narcissist is increased by how you compare with them. So there's a tension that's created that really gets locked in. It gets really sort of under your skin. And that is a boundary violation. So when someone is getting underneath your skin, they're agitating or irritating you, or you are bothered by them, that is really truly at the root of it showing a lack of self-control versus blaming your reaction and your unhappiness on another. There's a codependency that has created a source of supply or a traumatic bond that can really be solidified and really dug in deep when you're around this type of personality, which oftentimes has an obsession and a compulsion for being in control or being in power over others or being sort of like the one. In other words, they're looking for others who will constantly be a second fiddle to them. There's always a me, and then there's the rest of everybody, and it's sure that, their position is going to be superior to or better than for some reason or another. And this tends to make it really drilled in deep underneath the skin, where it's getting at your fight or flight, which is on a constant trigger basis. So once again, a lot of people enter into a relationship with someone like this and sort of find themselves in a role like this. They're always in this role. They're not themselves. They're not living according to their own peace and serenity and knowing what that is and how to create and establish that on an ongoing basis. They're always sort of have this trigger that they're creating that, is always sort of a state of quote unquote tension or feeling alive, or really what I feel is it really becomes sort of an obsessive compulsive quality of a narcissist. And a lot of people ask, can a narcissist be comorbid and show obsessive compulsive tendencies, perfectionist tendencies, anger tendencies, rebellion tendencies? I mean, yes to all of the above. And I know we're really kind of diving into this, but before we get started, I just want to give a super huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Yes, and yes, thank you so much. It's great to hear from you. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to be sort of an escort to you on your personal journey. And thank you so much for your support and helping keep the channel alive. It really does help me to keep inspired to develop the content and be creative and innovative to help you really get an experience of what healing is and what self-discovery it is, and help you to find that, because oftentimes that's like what's lacking in a lot of education or relationships today. So it's really a goal of the channel to help you to find and self-discover yourself. And not just like, I found myself. I mean, that sounds so trite, but really to help you to really drill down a feeling of self-control and emotional management, especially once this whole system has been violated or triggered or corroded or corrupted by someone who is manipulative. So thank you so much for your donations. It's an honor and privilege to be able to really be at this niche. And I think it's such a niche, but it's so universal, like especially nowadays, given our political climate in the mid 2019, you know, it's so relevant in the country today. So absolutely positively, if this channel has been a positive resource, it would be great to hear from you. Please do feel free to participate at the PayPal Donate Now button here at the About page at Peace and Harmony on YouTube. So thank you so much. It would be great to hear from you. And of course, thank you for your questions, because viewers give a lot of very, interesting questions that I think is a good resource, and we can create more material and fodder because a lot of people relate to this. And thank you for your comments when you say that I've made a positive ripple effect beyond which I know. So thank you so much for your heartfelt comments. Once again, I want to be a soft landing place for people who have been injured. So you can kind of come to all fours, all twos, all your senses, and rehabilitate and resensitize and desensitize yourself to the negative, the toxic, the feeling of betrayal, and really the sort of deep-rooted depression and complex PTSD that can result, is from these relationships, because they're so severe and they're so engulfing and enmeshing. So when you ask why is it so difficult to shake, it's because they have like their fingers in your operating system. So it's kind of like they've taken control, and it sounds kind of like alien, but like not like an alien takeover, but really they have gotten to a place deep within your subconscious where you're not feeling in control, and you're not feeling, it's not pleasurable to feel triggered. It's not pleasant to feel angry. It's not pleasant to be disturbed by somebody or to come into contact with someone who is a complete and utter conflict consciousness, where there's always sort of a tension. They're always ready to, an emotional smackdown. They're ready to, whether it's about gardening or their plant is bigger, their gift is better. They're working for a better cause. Their hair is better. Their shoes are better. Their, pillows are better. Whatever it is, there's a constant lack of equality in these relationships. And it's not about race. It's not about religion. It's about personality, quote unquote, issues, defects, circumstances, that are very forceful and are very debilitating. They create sort of a very, it creates a handicap in people who are around them. And so like an emotional handicap. It is because someone who is narcissistic and albeit even psychopathic, they have sort of this obsession to have control or power over others. Not in a empowering way, like lifting you up, or let's talk about something stimulating or very relevant, or something that you care about, which can be positively arousing, positively provocative, help you to expand your mind, discuss things that really truly work for you, like changing your diet, or, helping you to articulate your views, or to better articulate your needs or your interests, or, take you where you want, take your life to the next level, whether rehabbing your house, rehabbing your hobbies, rehabbing your relationships, cooking some new things. You feel that you're kind of, you're pushing and growing, and it's a pleasure, it's a pleasurable fulfillment of goals. So that's like an empowered life. That's the side that you should be on, positive orderly direction thinking, where you're saying you're getting off of the procrastination zone. Oftentimes when you're in a relationship with someone who is narcissistic or albeit psychopathic, who has an obsessive compulsive, in my viewpoint, in a lot of them, when they're very intense, and you're experiencing this enmeshment or engulfing or this negative experience of tension or combativeness, which I also call conflict consciousness. They just bring anger to the setting. They bring, they bring targeting issues, to the situation. In other words, the passive aggressive, trying to say things that irritate you and provoke you to react or fight or lash back or touch on a sensitive spot or push your buttons is very unpleasurable, because deep within there is a role that says you must subjugate yourself to them. In other words, your role is nothing more than to be there, to listen and be about them, and undermining you, or not giving you a balance in the conversation. There's a true imbalance, and in the beginning, I think, a lot of people enter it in the name of love because they feel that to be violated is to love, to sacrifice is to love, to be in a happy relationship is for another to be themselves, and then you're just like, rooting them on, or you're just their audience, or you're just their groupie, or you're just there to ooh and ah on them, versus receiving and living your life in an empowered state. And so there's a very clear downward negative orderly direction thinking, feeling, and behaving that is experienced. It's definitely down a whole nother direction of life. Not just for, this weekend, just this week. It becomes really a very engulfing gestalt, sort of omnipotent experience of being ground down, filed down by this person's energy, this force energy, which means it's not in your best interest or the interest of others oftentimes, because it's depleting and it's disempowering. So you should be able to understand and categorize and find self-discovery as you define it along those very simple tenets. Very simple tenets meaning, is it taking you down a wrong direction, negative orderly direction thinking? I call it NAD thinking in the book that I'm working on. NAD thinking and behaving meaning no. It makes you feel tense, unhappy, unpleasant, triggered, provoked in the wrong direction, bringing out the worst of you, not, all about them. In other words, you're getting very far from your own deep center. So, looking at the serenity prayer and coming into your own skin is so very crucial. It's important to have that energy change and do that energy work for yourself. What is energy work? It's understanding the chakra system, the energy system, and how it all resonates within how you hold and carry yourself, so that energy can flow throughout the top of your head and down in, all the way through your crown, into your third eye, working its way down into your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, your base and your root chakras, so that you've got this sort of alignment, or what they would call, just in a power pose, or what is her name? Amy Trudy, who talks about, the power pose. In other words, so you've got you're poised, you're standing up straight, like your mother might have said. It's important for you to stand up straight, so that you've got this sort of deep, unspoken self-respect and positive self-regard. So if you need to practice that in the privacy of these videos, so that you feel it's a feeling that you have to permit and allow to unhook this under the skin situation. It's like, have you ever had a sliver where as a kid you're walking around barefoot on somebody's porch or what have you, back in the day, when it was okay to go barefoot and you didn't have to comb your hair? You're going over to your friends, and then bam, you get a sliver from their floor into your foot. You arrive at the front door. You're like talking to the friend's mom, like, I just came across the street and now I have a sliver. So they're getting out the tweezers. They're getting it out from under your skin. It hurts so bad. And then the moment they pulled out that little mini stick, you felt relief and you felt like you could feel your fingers again. The relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath is very much like that, but it's like an emotional sliver. It's like a touche. They just get you under the rib, in the gut, and they just put it in and twist it whenever they want. So there's this feeling of being exposed or vulnerable or unable to, shield an attack. So the defense mechanisms arise. The yelling, the overspending, the overeating, the drinking in the corner, smoking in the garage, whatever it is that has to be done in secrecy, because you're having to deal with this person, you don't even feel that you're sort of in life, with all feet on, or on all fours or what have you, on your feet, because this person is always sort of provoking you. It's a very, not evocative, meaning helping to support. It's helping to make insecure. And so the goads, the jabs, what have you, are designed for that. And, these people have an obsessive compulsion to this, meaning it does not quit. It does not lessen. It gets more intense. Picking, they will find even one more strand, one more little thing to, if you think it's done, or, they'll find more reasons to trigger. It gives them a sense of significance and importance. It's just like an immediate, fix for them. It's an immediate reward. So if you look at and understand psychopathy and narcissism, those personality disorders, it's a true insatiable need for them to get this reward. So they get it when they do it. It's a reward for them to betray and bewitch or deceive. That it's just what they like to do. They like to have that word in. They like to be in other people's ears, whispering things, da 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 da. Before they come back. They're these creators of these me versus them. They're the creators of this unpleasant competition, which is in the negative. It's along the lines of the negative orderly direction thinking. You can never outlive the bad that they keep, projecting out there. It's like something they just, blanket. Well, it's something you can feel. It's affected on the subconscious, which means you have to understand when you heal through this and you do this energy work, is to understand and know that you have something called the subconscious. And it's important to take ownership of this. This is like your power source. This is like where all the good stuff changes. But people don't live on that level. They don't get down deep. They don't drill down to that core of themselves that's unlimited and unfettered and in positive belief. I believe, where it's a positive, like little fire within, where it's like, I believe, I know. It's like a little ember. It's your ground chakra rising up, that it's just like this little hot ember, the eternal flame, which is positive self-regard, which you need to experience in and of yourself on your own. These steps are for your choice alone. These steps coming within and embracing that and honoring that in a positive sense, a positive I am, and positive self-regard. It's an allowing. And then all of a sudden, those little provokers don't infiltrate and they don't penetrate anymore. It's once you have learned things like the serenity prayer, God grant me, we can look at that or look it up for yourself. You need to understand what you can change and what you cannot change. And it's to allow what you cannot change to go and release that energy and just let it recirculate onto them, and don't engage and be part of the banter, the comparison, and really not trying to desire what they have, not taking the bait, because the narcissist will always sort of employ the fact that that others will want what they have. It's like, let them have what they have, and so be it. It does not have to burden you, depress you, uninspire you. You don't have to be reactive to their personality disorder. You have to be able to separate and sort of negate this negative influence and be able to get into a space of readiness within that has personal power. In other words, that you go out and practice free will, like going for a walk for 5 minutes, breaking up your day, shaking up your routine, so that you are self-governing and self-driven, and you have in your mind's eye new values and a new image of yourself, how you really want to be and reinvent yourself, and not the yelling, goaded feeling or role that you have feeling sort of projected onto you like a cloak that's just like thrown over your head, and that you can't see out of when you're around them. It's to back out of that feeling and to say, you know what, that's unpleasant. I'm not going to subject myself, especially mentally and spiritually, to this unfortunate and unnecessary goading and comparison, or this juxtapositioning, this banging of horns that a narcissist and a psychopath will get to. In the psychopath, they'll, everything is just A-okay, with them. And then, you find out that they're doing something really despicable and they just don't change. They just don't have any effect. They don't have any, it doesn't, if they've hurt you or betrayed you, it just doesn't mean anything. It just washes away. They don't have respect for these societal norms. And, discovering this, it can hurt down deep. So you have to heal down deep. You have to get to that place in your life where, where the truth is unspoken, but it is felt. So not trying to label or put words to your personal freedom, but just say, at this moment now, I am allowing my true, perfect, pure personal freedom to run and energize my complete body, starting up through the heavens and coming down through my root chakra in my head and flowing all through my system. And I'm just going to allow that little buzz of being content to sit with me for just a moment. And I'm going to take ownership of all these quadrants of my body, of my future looking and dream state and goal state. So that's self-ignited, and then allowing yourself to say, I'm going to stay close to that inner fire that I know is on the crossroads to that positive, orderly direction thinking, feeling, and behaving, especially when you look at the section in your recovery journal that's all about what have I been procrastinating on. It's so important after you've been through these relationships that are violatory in nature and evocative and underneath the skin, and sort of this engaging in this boundary violation where you've got them sort of, you're at their beck and call, you're their underling, supply, whatever you want to have it. You're answering to the flying monkeys, you're answering to them, you're not being yourself, and you're like, I have to not be myself right now. And then, you don't want to sacrifice your personal time. Your personal time is precious. Your personal time is more important than this person. You are what's most important. And you need to believe that and live that and rejoice in that and have that as a humble personal flame within your heart, so that you've got that. Even if they haven't reflected that, you have to know that in your being, and that looking at what you've been procrastinating and being able to tackle that list, to be able to write down in your recovery journal, what have I been procrastinating? And to fill it up, if there's 20, 50 things that you have been procrastinating about, hallelujah, amen. What is this list that's been holding me back like a dark cloud over me? And let me tackle these and really sort of whittle that list down until it does not exist anymore. There is nothing that I'm procrastinating about. Then you get a chance to experience in your own life and be able to breathe new life into your time and to allow that to prevail. How you feel, number one, should be number one. Turn on some music. Turn on some things that make you dance. Turn on some things that maybe, you hear sounds of nature, or classical music, or piano music, or good old-fashioned country or rock and roll that you have not listened to in a while, that is supportive of positive, orderly direction thinking. Maybe it's just something that you need to do to renovate your home. You need to put some new colors up on the walls, or you need to reduce some furniture that's getting, ragged. Something that you can show your personal effect on and affect. Effect and affect meaning your emotion, how you feel when you do it and complete it. I just got this beautiful planter done, and you have a sense of ownership and a sense of gratitude. Getting that feeling of gratitude back and getting in your happy space is so important to do that, and to do that one purely 100%, and to get them out from under your skin, and to reaffirm to yourself, my boundaries are not going to be violated. My boundaries will not be violated. I'm in touch and nurturing of my boundaries. I'm in touch and able to express and communicate from within my boundaries. I'm able to communicate and express from my happy place, my content place, my peaceful place, my inspired place, my learning and intelligent space, where what I can change and what I can enhance according to what makes me happy. And that can be called upon and engendered and, reinvigorated throughout your day. You need to take a conscious effect to get mindful of your happiness, and what can you do to balance it out? So it's all about you. It's all about saying, I am important. Writing that down on a piece of paper. I am living a great life. Writing that down on a piece of paper and putting it on your fridge. When you walk by it and you see those words, it gives you a little wake up, a little wave, a little aha. I am living a wonderful life. It just reminds you. It reminds you of how amazing life is when you recognize it, when you give it respect. Some people say they go to their church to worship their Savior. Be able to call that forth, that happiness, and be mindful of that within the day. And then you'll be able to practice it and get really good at it if you repeat and repeat and repeat. Repetition and experience. And really processing that and living at that deep level. Maybe you need to go silent. You need to have silence for 4 days. Stop listening to the negative news. Stop listening to the negative programs. Stop the escapism stuff and do some reading. Look at different channels, that are educating and informing in nature. Like in the U.S., there's Channel 11, WTTW. Go ahead and listen to the real thing. Or get off of the fake thing. Maybe that's just your first step, is getting the crud out, the emotional crud, in the way that they've made you feel, and the self-limiting beliefs that have been engendered and operated from on a subconscious level. So you need to really get out of that comfort zone and start living in the unconscious. It's to understand and listen to TED Talks, like Dr. Joe Dispenza and the TED Talks on the 3 brains, and he talks about, getting to that core level of pure consciousness in order to rewire yourself. In other words, who are you? And to stop putting off who you are. Stop putting off your happiness. Stop putting off your peace and contentment. Stop putting off that being in control, so that you don't experience triggers anymore. It's not worth it. It's not worth relapsing into anger. It's not worth relapsing into spite. It's not worth, relapsing and going back and being the way that you don't want to be, or being with the people that you don't want to be with. But furthermore, you need to surround yourself then with mentors and people who possess the healing, the intellect, the perseverance that you want for yourself. So for example, if you really want to lose weight or be super fit, then you better go hang around the gym and get to know some super fit people and talk to a personal trainer, and surround yourself with people who are healthy and fit so that they can teach you what is required. If you feel like you want a hobby, an interest, or you need to add, jumpstart your life, you need to go get a pet, then you need to go to the pet store. You need to go to the garden shop. You need to go to the sewing mart. You need to go to the festival, or the vegan market, or the farmer's market, or whatever it is, or try out that new grocery store. You need to interrupt the pattern that keeps you in that dull cycle, that feeling less than cycle. In other words, I'm shaking it off. I'm through. Enough is enough. I'm done with feeling this way. I'm finished. I am happy. I'm doing right now what makes me happy. And gosh darn it, I like it, And so taking time to ponder on things, that you've been procrastinating on, and really not being afraid to look at it and say, you know what? This is something that I've allowed to overwhelm me. No longer will it overwhelm me. It does no longer have power over me. And so when you get practice of that, this no longer has power over me. And then other situations that might, where you're in a smear campaign, or you're having someone who's really trying to push your buttons and intimidate you, or bully you, this no longer is going to provoke me. This no longer is going to make me feel intimidated. I'm facing this fears, and I'm gazing upon it, and I'm observing it. And when you do that, you dispel the fear. You break it down you smash it up into pieces, and then the pieces float away once you've faced your fears. So it's about opening up that space. It's a new space for you to live from, that's along the right direction. Positive, orderly direction, thinking, feeling, and behaving, and doing something new. no matter how small, is a baby step in the right direction. And it's a lot of these little steps that eventually will result in the change. And then all of a sudden you're saying, you know what? I now understand this relationship. I now understand the trespassing of these boundaries. I now understand why, I was led to believe this. Now I understand how I rehearsed and rememorized these negative self-limiting beliefs for years and years and years. I see it now. So when you take the time, you're able to see like the rings of a tree. If you look in nature and you see a tree that's fallen or that's been cut off, and you see all the rings, from that show all the years, you're able to see all the rings. You're able to see all the layers that have impacted you, and how perhaps you had rehearsed and rememorized subconsciously these negative self-limiting beliefs that kept you feeling down, disturbed, unhappy, unattractive. And you're getting more of this in your life. That's at the subconscious level, because believe it or not, you will live according to the commands of your subconscious. So if you're around people that are reinforcing of that, then you need to get away. You need to get away and create a new personal space that's not only in your home space, in your dwelling, but in your heart space that is always there, and it's big, it's 8 to 9 feet around you. And you determine who can come in your personal space and who you're going to let in or who you're going to keep out. And to be able to call that forth in your mind's eye and to know what that looks like and to live in that level. So it's like understanding the hard drive of the computer that saves all the software, that runs all the other stuff, all the other apps on your computer. It's getting down to that hard drive within yourself and saying, OMG, I can control how I feel. I can go out for a 10-minute walk. I can throw out the junk in my cupboard. I can. On these little steps, and you're able to evoke change, and then your mind wakes up to your personal power. That is how you heal. That is what is required. That is how you succeed and overcome a violating relationship from an individual or series of individuals as described that made that sort of cut out, that bite out of you, like the old Apple logo. Now you get the gestalt, and you fill in the apple or you see it all bitten. Which one are you? Where are you? The fullness of your heart should be a whole, pure, beating, focused heart, and drive you to what you love and enjoy in a balanced way versus being imbalanced by someone who is trying to overwhelm through their emotional habits in the way that they treat others. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. We're back in the studio.